Hey guys, do you think your interaction with your camera bag and your camera on a day-to-day basis can make you a better photographer? Hey guys, this is Ejaz. I'm a fashion and a wildlife photographer, and today I want to share with you guys what happened when the Arctic wolf showed up in minus 56-degree weather, and my camera, my lenses was all tucked away, packed nice and neat. So we were there. It was 9 days, I believe. So it was 9 days. There was no wolf whatsoever. I could see paws, and there was a wolf that showed up on the third day, I believe, but it was so small on my lens that I couldn't, I mean, in the camera, that I couldn't even see much of it. I didn't even take the photographs. So I just sat around in the minus 56-degree weather trying to figure out what I'm doing here. And the bigger difficulty was, who am I? Because I kept saying to myself all my life that I'm this tough guy and I can do things that are brutal and so on and so forth, right? All the script in your brain since you were a child, you run through that. And all my toughness literally went away when I was there by myself. I mean, my tracker was there, but he wasn't there really, right? So I'm sitting in the tent by myself for hours on end, I should say days at end. And that's when you start to know yourself really, really well. And you're saying to yourself, but I want to go home. I want my phone. I want the internet. Anyway, coming back to the subject of what happened. Did I get the photographs? Did I get it the way I want to get it? I think that you will be a better judge after looking at the images whether I got what I got or whether I was successful at that. But I do have to say to you that here we are 9 days later, beaten up. I am beaten up totally, mentally, physically. I don't want to be there anymore. Being alone plays a huge part. At least that's my weakness. I just didn't want to be there. It was just no one to talk to, no internet, no cellular phones, whatever. So after packing it in and saying, hey, to hell with it, I'm going to go back and I'm going to tell the world that I went to the North Pole and I did not get the Arctic wolf, which was very shameful for me. I was disappointed in myself. Asked my tracker, let's pack it up. So we packed up all the bags and we attached it to the cart at the back on the snowmobile and we started to ride. And my bag was, I mean, along with the tent and along with the food and along with the gas and along with thousand other things were all packed in the back. And then we stopped and we saw one Arctic wolf, which was that much, and slowly it was walking towards me and walking towards me and walking towards me. And we had stopped on the snowmobile, didn't want to scare him, right? So, and at that point I'm saying to myself, should I jump out of my snowmobile, go get my camera from the camera bag? And something inside of me said, nah. I was already broken down, right? So I said, nah, it's not going to be possible. By the time he walks from where he is to where I am, it's impossible for me to take first find the bag amongst hundreds of others, then pull out my camera, attach it to the lens, and put it on my tripod, and then start shooting. I'm like, nah, you know what? I had mentally already made the script in my brain that I didn't get it, you know. So being that disheartened, my tracker just gives me that look like, what are you doing? The wolf is coming right here. What are you doing? Why are you sitting on sitting on the snowmobile? Do something. And that look of his prompted me to say, okay, let's just do something. And my brain is saying to myself, maybe you'll go and achieve something. Maybe you won't. Maybe you will. Maybe you won't. So I said, you know what? Put the fear behind. If you don't, you don't. As it is, you've decided that you haven't got anything or you will not get anything, and you did the script of telling people that this is what I did and nothing came out. Give it a shot. I got into the bag, and I have to be honest with you guys. I was not thinking. It was the repetition and my memory, my subconscious memory, and the repetition of doing this again and again and again and again is what really helped me, because I have no clue when I went to my bag, found my bag, pulled the bag out, pulled the camera out, and then pulled the lens out, because the camera is its own in his own bag and the lens is in his own bag. I mean, within the bag, they're different bags, right? So all of this is happening without me thinking. And the wolf keeps coming towards me. And to increase the pressure, now there is not just one wolf. I think there were 7 or 8 of them, all of them coming towards me. And he jazzes with his, I have to be ready. And I have to be honest with you, if I can put a time on it, it didn't take me more than a minute or less to pull out the bag. How did the lens get onto the camera? I don't know. How did the lens get onto the tripod? I have no idea. But, within, I would say, a minute, I was shooting. So, what the point that I'm trying to make here is habits. If I was to think, hey, let me take my lens and let me line it up with the camera and let me put it in, would not work, right? If I were to think how and what plate to put on my lens so I can attach it to the tripod, it would not work. So I think habits as a photographer, as a wildlife photographer, are so, so, so important that it stops you from thinking. Now, I'm going to tell you something that you may think I'm absolutely nuts, but how do you think I got my exposure? It didn't come because I was thinking. For sure, it didn't come because I was because if I had to think, I would lose the wolves. The wolves were there. They were like literally 10 feet away from me when I got this photograph right here. Right? 10 feet away, and I got the perfect exposure. When I came back to my studio, I didn't mess around with the exposure. Of course, I photoshopped it and so on, but I didn't enhance the exposure. And I think the reason why is simply because of my habit. So here is something that I do as a wildlife photographer. When I shut my camera after any shoot, I put it on the f-stop, ISO, and the shutter that I want it to be in case I'm going to pull it out of my bag and start shooting. Now, I was shooting a Arctic fox literally 3 days before. While I was waiting for the Arctic wolves to show up, there was an Arctic fox that showed up. So I already had my settings to go with a white furry animal on a white background. Everything was white, and this thing was very similar to that. So I had my camera settings already set to what I wanted. Yes, there's a difference between an Arctic wolf and a fox. The fox was a little bit cleaner, so whiter, I should say, and the wolf was a little bit more on the grayish side. So yes, there was 1/3 of a difference. And the way I have my camera set up, I always move in 1/3. So I knew what to do. I had my camera at the base ISO, which whatever Nikon said, I did. I believe those days it was 600 or 800, 600, I think it was. I'm not sure. It was the Nikon D850. And then I had my shutter at 1000, and I had my f-stop, which is normal for me to leave it at 2.8, but in this case I had a 400 lens, so it was f4. And all I had to do was 1, 2, 3 clicks this way, and I was done, because 1/3, 1/3, 1/3 makes one stop. I had to just literally open it up by one stop, because the camera was set to a point where I was expecting a white subject because of the fox. So that was a habit, right? So I have got into a habit of having my f-stop, my ISO, my shutter speed at a position where if anything shows up, for the most part, I'll get it almost right. And then I do 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. That's it, because 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. Or if you have your camera set at move increments of one stop, then you do one and you're done, right? So yeah, so the point of this video is that the habit of holding and working with my equipment so much that I pulled it out, put it over there, took out the cover, put it on the tripod, and boom, it was ready to go. Did not come because I was thinking. If I had to think, game over. Second, the f-stop, the shutter speed, and the ISO, also a habit, right? A habit that I don't change my ISO. I keep it stuck literally to whatever the camera manufacturer says. My f-stop, I literally keep it stuck to the lowest number, 2.8, 1.8, f4 in this case. And then I have only one thing to play with, and that is your shutter speed. And that's the end of that. And I think those habits helped me achieve the, I would say, the impossible, because the wolves, it took them less than a minute and a half, 2 minutes to come. They were not walking leisurely, they were kind of walking and running at the same time to come towards me. And then I got about 5 to 7 minutes, 5 to 7 minutes to photograph them. Had I not looked at my tracker's face, who kind of gave me that look like, come on, this is what you're here for. That look and that voice inside of me where I was defeated, but that voice said, come on, Ijaz, you can do this. And the biggest key to success for these was the habits. The habits, the habits, the habits. I can't urge you guys enough. Take your camera, play with it. I mean, here's another thing which is absolutely crazy, is that sometimes I'm playing with the camera at night. I know I'm not going to shoot anything. I'm laying in bed, but I'm playing with my camera, just playing with my camera, just the camera being in your hands helps. It's a habit. The camera being in your hand, it's a habit. The camera being pulled out, like I didn't think which zipper, because these camera bags come with like 5,000 zippers to open. And when you are in a panic state, your mind cannot work. It has to be habit. It has to be subconscious. I didn't, if I had to close my eyes, I would be able to do exactly the same thing. And I think that's exactly what happened that day that made this Arctic wolf images possible. I was not thinking. Pure habit. You do it again and again and again and again and again, that it's in your system. And once it's in your system, you are not thinking. Thinking will make you a horrible photographer. Do your thinking before you get on set or your location. Finish your thinking, analyze your photograph, visualize your photograph, and have these amazing habits, and you will come out on top of the game, I promise you. Anyway, guys, habits, 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 and I will see you guys soon. Thank you.